Hey everybody, my name is Amanda. Welcome to the Boyd County Library's Summer Reading Online. Today I'm going to be talking about the subject of photography, specifically cell phone photography. A lot of people already have cell phones in their pockets. You may even be watching this video on a cell phone as we speak. That means you already have a pretty decent camera in your hands to get started with. Every year they put out new models of phones, and a lot of times they have upgrades to the cameras, so there's always something new being added, some new cool feature that gets it just a little bit closer to the finishing effects of a higher quality camera, trying to replicate what you would see from a DSLR camera. Now, this doesn't mean that it's the same as a DSLR camera. There's definitely differences between the two, but cell phones are coming a long way from, those first blurry, just pixelated shots that they used to be. You can really get a lot out of a cell phone. And today, more than ever, there's growing pressure to get that seamless, perfect Instagram-worthy shot. So what I'm going to do is show you a few simple tips that's going to take your average everyday shots up a notch and make them look a little more polished and finished. Okay, the first tip that I'm going to tell you about is to experiment and try something new. A lot of times people think that the first thing they should do is just point the camera straight at somebody, just face on, or whatever the subject is, even if it's not a person or if it's an object, just straight on, which is obviously an option, but I suggest you try different angles. You can shoot from above, looking straight down, or you can get really, really low, almost on the ground, shooting up at your subject. You can do side profile views, just different angles. Just try different angles and try something new and experiment and see what you can come up with. In this first shot, you see just a straight-on shot of just a plain rope swing. You almost can't even see it. It doesn't even stand out at all. The subject of the picture would be more of the sky than it would even be the swing itself. In the next shot, it's the same swing, but I got down low and I shot from the side and a close-up and just a different angle completely. And it completely changes up the entire feel of the picture. Tip number 2 is to check your background. A lot of times people don't pay attention to what's going on in the background. They're focused on what the subject is and what the subject is doing. They're not paying attention to what's going on behind them. If you don't look, there could be something that's distracting from your subject and you don't realize it till afterwards, and then you've lost the shot. You also want to look for clutter, messy stuff that's going to just distract and make your picture look bad overall. So really pay attention to what's going on behind your subject before you actually snap the picture. For example, in this picture, the subject is standing right directly in front of the tree. The tree branches look like they're sprouting out from her head, and it's very distracting. If she would have just stood over to the right a little bit or the left, it would have helped a ton for this shot. In the next picture here, you can see she's standing in front of a line of trees. That's a lot more even and balanced, and it doesn't take away from the subject at all. Tip number 3, and it's probably the most important tip, is check your lighting. Lighting is one of the most important things in photography. I'm not going to go too deep into detail because that could take all day since lighting is so important. But what I will say is make sure you're setting yourself up to have a good lighting situation. If you are inside and you're in a darker room, look for ways to get some natural light in there. If it's daylight outside, open a window, open a door, let some sunlight in. Don't stand directly in front of the sunlight, though. That's a big mistake, common mistake that people make. They'll have all this light coming in, and then they'll stand right in front of the window or the door, and then all you see is a halo of light around them. You don't see any details. So try to have the light come in and hit them at the face instead of coming in from behind them. If you're outside and it's a really bright sunny day and you're getting really harsh shadows, try to look for some shade. What I typically do is I will find a line of trees that's making some shade, or a building overhang, something pretty but that has lots and lots of shade so you can get nice even light. If not, if you're right directly in sunlight, and especially if it's in the middle of the day, you're going to get really harsh shadows underneath the eyes, right through here, right underneath the nose, and it's just not going to look very even compared to if you were in a shaded area. You're going to get 100% even lighting all throughout the whole face. So definitely look for a shady spot and just pay attention to what the light is doing in general. There's 100 different scenarios for lighting. Just pay attention to where the light is at and what it's doing to your subject.
So as you can see in this first picture, the lighting is really uneven. It's really bright in the highlights and then dark in the shadows. It's because she was standing in direct sunlight. The highlights are way too bright and overblown, and the shadows are way too dark. In this picture, we just went into a shady area, so the light was nice and even. There's even a little bit of light kind of coming down and landing right on the top of her head, but that's about it. Her face, all the shadows are nice and even. You don't have really harsh lines, and it just looks really pretty.
Okay, tip number 4 is consider using what is called composition grids. Composition grids are used in photography to help arrange the visual elements in a photo in a more creative and artistic way. Using these grids, you can line up your subjects or other elements in the photo with the grid lines to achieve different looks. My favorite app to use for this is called Wise Camera, and it's available in the Apple Store, and it's free for Apple users. You can also find the app Composition Cam in the Google Play Store, which is also free, which works pretty similarly. I haven't used that one myself, but looking through the reviews and the way it works, it looks pretty similar to Wise Camera, so you'll have that option as well.
Today, however, I'm going to be working with the app Wise Camera. First, when you open this app, you see all kinds of different templates to choose from, depending on the type of shot you're going to take. The first one you see, which is the most commonly used grid, is called the rule of thirds. If you click more, it takes you to a screen that explains more about how to use it and what it's used for. In the rule of thirds, the main idea is to place your subject to the right or left of the center line, lining up with one of these sets of lines. This can take a photo from looking so-so to a much more interesting and sometimes more dramatic image. There are several different templates that you can choose from, and each will include information that talks more about how to use that particular grid. You can access the complete list on the right in the menu by clicking here. Get it to go here. Remember, apps like these are educational tools, And with practice, you will come to see that you don't actually need these all the time, that you will eventually get to the point where it is second nature and you're not even thinking about it and you're just doing it on your own. But this is a good educational tool to help you practice and learn the different elements to these grids and just better your composition techniques.
Tip number 5, consider editing your images. Consider using a photo editing app to touch up your pictures. There are many apps you can do this with. A lot of apps can do anything from just simply brightening up an image to being able to crop, to completely changing the whole vibe by using fun filters that does a lot of the editing work for you. They have everything from social media apps that have built-in photo editors with them, like Instagram. You can do a lot of stuff manually, or you can just throw a filter on and it's already edited. Typically, when you look at an image straight from the camera roll, a lot of people don't notice it, but the more you start doing photography, the more you start looking at pictures, the more you notice it. That a picture straight from the camera roll has an overall very flat and almost gray tone to it. So what I like to do is go in and brighten it up, make the colors pop more, make it more vivid. You can make the picture look overall more warm or more cool. You can sharpen an image. There's all kinds of different effects that you can do. A lot of cell phones now have photo editors built in, so once you take a picture, you can pull it up in your camera roll, you can hit edit, and it's already got it in there where you can adjust the exposure, brightness, highlights, shadows, all of that.
Next, I'm going to show you how I edit. I usually edit with the built-in editor. You just hit edit in the top right corner. It takes you to this screen. You have the different choices that you can adjust with the little slider scale. I'll go up with the brilliance just a little bit, play around with some of the highlights and shadows. Sometimes I like what it does, and other times I will just play around and see what it does and then go back to just 0. It really depends. But I usually will definitely make the contrast a little more higher. That way you can really see the differences between the lights and the darks. Black point I will use. You can either darken the blacks in the screen really dark, or you can go the opposite direction and give that matte look, which kind of gives it an older, more vintage feel. Vibrance brings out the colors, or you can go the opposite direction with it and dull the colors down. I like to make the colors really pop. Warmth will make it a little more of a orange color, or the opposite way, you can make it blue. I tend to go more warm pictures, it's the color. And then I will normally go with a red tint because I don't like green in pictures, but that's just my preference. And I usually go back through all of them a few times and play with it until I really find what I like. That's just where you get to go in and decide what your style is. This is also adding in what's called a vignette, and it just makes the edges a little darker and it puts more focus on the subject. sharpness will make a picture a little sharper. If you had taken a blurry picture, you can fix that error just a little bit. If it was darker outside or inside and your picture had a little blur to it, you can sharpen it up. Saturation will really make your colors really, really bold, but I tend to not use saturation too much. If I do use it, I'm usually turning the colors down a little. You can see a before and after here, what it looked like before and after. And this is the finished product. If you like it, you can just save it and leave it as it is. Or if you decide you hate it, you can go back and you can hit revert, and it'll take it back to the original image without any editing. You can also go in the middle button here. There's some filters, some pre-made filters, and you can flip through. You don't have to do any of the work and just apply those to it. You can also pick a filter and then go and adjust it from there too, and go back into the editing and adjust a few things here and there if you like some of the filters but want to change some of them a little. So here you have your final product. All you have to do is hit save and share with your friends.
All right, well, that's all I have for today. I just want to encourage you to keep practicing, keep trying new things. And if you want to share the pictures that you create with us, you can either post in the comments or you can share using the hashtag #ImagineYourStory. Don't forget to tag the library. We are excited to see what you come up with. Thank you for watching, and make sure you check back in for new program videos coming each week. Thanks for watching.